Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video we are going to take a close look at the RasPi arcade stick, the Spectro edition. So the overall box was a little bit flimsy, to be honest, and I must say that my first, let's say, impression was not positive. So you find these weird products from, let's say, not always China, because this was an AliExpress product reseller but did live in Europe. So I don't know if it's going to be selling it in the future, because that is sometimes a problem when it comes to these products. It's like popping up in the window saying, hey, we have this for sale, and like a couple of months later it hasn't been for sale. After that, the Pi itself has already been implemented. So there's nothing much in the inside beside this horrible styrofoam. But I was really disappointed when it comes to this kit. So what we're going to get inside is just an HDMI cable. We're going to get ourselves like a USB to USB, and there was another USB cable that I already lost on the way. Yeah, okay, the rubber feet is loose. Then I have the ball top, and of course here having the little bit of a manual or piece of toilet paper deluxe that explains what you need to do. It came with a cable, but it didn't came with a power supply whatsoever. Ah, there he is. So here we're having like the on and off switch between the cables. And then the really unfortunate thing is when it comes to the Pi, it's very important, especially if you're going to be overclocking it, that we're going to get ourselves like an original Pi power supply, or one that's at least having enough amps to basically get this thing to power on. The first thing that we need to do is implementing the dust cover over here for the joystick. I got one from my own collection. And then we're going to assemble the ball top. So that's basically the thing that we need to do, and that's the only thing that we need to assemble, because the Pi is already inside the machine itself. So how it's with the quality of the joystick. It's a very long shaft joystick, what you can see from this angle. And the overall quality is just a typical wiggle stick. So the button quality, yeah, so that's a different story. So we do have like these very long, like say Chinese travel buttons. I must say they play okay, but give me more like some lookalikes, or at least like with a very nice click. The biggest fan of these. And above the joystick we're going to get ourselves like the select and start, the same quality buttons. But how comfortable is the joystick quality and everything else? So first of all, the comfortability is very nice, because they did give this thing a very nice angle. So putting your hands on the machine will make it like very comfortable to play. The only downside to this thing is that it is fully made out of plastic, so it feels quite lightweighted. So at the back we will find every single connection that we're going to need and going to get. What are we going to get? So at the left side we're going to get ourselves the micro USB for powering. And then we're having like the HDMI connection out, and then we're having aux for audio. And at this side we're going to get ourselves like two USB 2.0 connections, and then we're having the SD card slot or the micro SD card slot there. So when you're normally getting this, yeah, I must say that they're a little bit disappointing, because you're not even going to get yourself like an SD card with just the firmware. You just need to download it yourself. That was basically the reason why they're giving you like this piece of toilet paper deluxe, explaining what you can do, simply because you can install yourself like the own firmware. Think about, let's say here it says like a RetroPie, a Recall box, Bodicera or a Laka TV. It doesn't matter, like you can do all kinds of cool things with it, but you need to do it all of yourself. And I think that's the biggest, let's say, DIY and letdown of this device. At least give us like a give it SD card with some firmware, like say 60 gigabyte, that you only need to add yourself the games. But let's get this rubber feet back in its hole and its position, and let's plug it into the machine itself or the television, and let's see what we're going to get. Okay, take consideration, this is not a tutorial how you need to add yourself the firmware. There are a lot of tutorials out there that basically just give you the same idea. And again, I have chosen for the RetroPie image, because it works just fine for me. If you're going to get yourself like into the RetroPie, take note that you really need to get some knowledge about the Raspberry Pi in general if you want to mess around with the system and also the settings. But what can we actually play with this machine? So take consideration the Pi 3 is already a couple of years old now, but still I think it had a lot of potential. They are like way cheaper basically to buy, so also this machine is not going to be like more expensive than your typical, let's say, Pandora's box. But you have way more to play. Old school platforms, think about the Game Boy or an 8-bit, 16-bit, that will run all fine. N64, it's going to be a little bit problematic what it is, so it's going to be a hit or miss. Neo Geo, NES, I think there's still a lot of potential when it comes to this. I'm just a retro gamer, for especially also the 8-bit and 6-bit era, so for me I'm just like say happy with stuff like this. Also if you want to get into PlayStation 1, it's going to be no problem whatsoever. What I do like about the Pi, there are so many different ways you can configure this. Of course with MELEC, that's a different kind of software that also runs perfect bam good on Android boxes. But especially when you're going to get into the handheld devices, we have like this amazing bezel that you can switch out if you want to, depending also what kind of image you're using or building. So in the next test I wanted to check out some old school Street Fighter 02. Just to actually see if we can play this game, how does it work with this particular joystick. Because this thing does have like a very strange, let's say, effect. I mean, like when you're playing with it. The dead zone in general is not super bad, but I'm just curious like how will it perform when it comes to some Street Fighter. I've played a lot with my samurai joystick lately, so I'm just getting into this like wiggle stick stuff going on here. Oh man, the buttons are not my favorite ones over here. I'm getting my ass whoops. Another game I just wanted to play is of course some Subby Wubby with some Mortal Kombat, the real arcade version. One of my favorite games to play. I don't know how it is but with you guys, but I really love Mortal Kombat 1. It's so basic. Okay, let's see if the buttons... Nope, button mapping is completely wrong. That's another issue. There we go. But all the moves come out instantly. Danger! Walk into my fist. There we go. Yeah, so I just want to give you an example how it will run on the Pi 3 and N64. You can see it struggles. You can mess around with the emulator to get some better results. But the other thing they completely messed up, and this is the reason I said you need to get into the RasPi software to fix the joystick. It's not a big of a deal, but it's something that you will see sometimes when it comes to these, let's say, devices. For me, when it comes to, let's say, a device like this, I just basically want to play some basic games. Especially when it comes to 16-bit, I love it, and 8-bit. It's kind of weird to play like that, simply because I need to use the joystick and the button. So, no, there's no other way to play. So it's kind of interesting, but also weird. But there are still a lot of cool things that work very well on this. So first of all, what you're going to get with is that we're going to get ourselves like a lot of different games that also have the option to save actually inside of the game itself. Already mentioned in the beginning of this video, up to PlayStation 1 it's not going to be a problem whatsoever. And I think, in my opinion, when it comes to Raspberry Pi 3, it's more than enough. Dreamcast is a great platform, but we just need to have like a Pi 4. But when you're going to get into stuff like that, it's going to be also coming with a different price tag. And you need to ask yourself, is it really worth paying like, say, maybe like 50 or more for a couple of platforms? So is it really plug and play? Yeah, not really. But the thing that we're going to do is rip it apart just to see how it looks in the inside. So within a Raspberry Pi, so the only thing I really hate about these things that you need to shut it down. Like, it's not a big of a deal, but if you're forgetting it a couple of times, it will ruin your image. Oh yeah, great. What button do I need to press? That it is. Okay, shutdown system. Because if you don't do that, you're going to be ruining your image. So always make a backup. That's a fact if you're done with this. Okay, the thing that we need to do is remove every single part. I need to be very careful because this thing is made out of plastic. There is already something loose on the inside. I don't want to ruin anything else. I don't know also why this thing is basically having this noise on the inside. Is there something that happened in transport? Don't know, don't care to be honest. Let's just find it out. They do use these very long, crazy like screws. Wow. The unfortunate thing is that I need to cut through the original sticker to get this thing open. Yep. I was hoping that it is like a bottom plate, but nope, it's basically two bolts slapped together. Right, so let's get myself a knife and let's open it up. There is nothing else to do about it, so let's be very gentle. Oh, there I go already. I'm messing up the sticker, come on. There we go, come on. So when you're looking at this, I can just barely open it up. So, there we have the piece of plastic that was rambling in the inside. So that's finally over. So what we find in the bottom part, and it's quite disappointing that they didn't even like implement a couple of cooling elements on this. So if you want to slightly overclock it, it's not going to be a good thing. Then we're having over here the two joysticks that we have been attaching. There we go. We can fold it open like a book. Then we have like the ribbon cables go to the back that has been implemented or basically connected to this board over here. So yeah, maybe I don't have any of these freaking things left. I was thinking maybe having like a cooling element that I can basically implement now on it. So this is a B+ they're using in the side of this machine. The other side, what we're going to get is just a basic USB encoder. These are like the cheaper ones. What does it do? Interesting, we have like 3D printed like brackets that basically holding the encoder board in place. So you can replace it if you want to. Then of course we're having here the buttons that can be like popped out and replaced if you want to upgrade this. The same goes for the joystick. Like, it's like a cheap one I've seen before. Yeah, it's just a cheap wiggle sticks. Nothing like the super bad quality, but also nothing really special. But there we go. That is what we're going to get in the inside. We can upgrade it if you want to with the, let's say, Raspberry Pi. It's going to be in different story, simply because not only the board size is different, but also with some connectors. But it would be cool to see this thing within Pi 4 in the inside. I don't know what they're up to with this. You can see like there are a lot of different holes in here that they're using with brackets. So I'm guessing they made an, let's say, unique, very cool looking case that is universal. So we can basically like upgrade it with different kind of hardware. The conclusion is quite simple. I was disappointed when it comes to this, let's say, tail-end tech like a lookalike a Raspberry Pi. The build quality was a lot of plastic fantastic and the joysticks as the buttons were not the greatest quality. It's a fun thing to basically get and to mess around with Raspberry Pi, because that's basically what it is, more like a DIY. Let me know in the comments what you think of this. I want to thank you for watching, consider subscribing, and it would be great to see you in the next video.